Hey, how is everybody? I was so efficient getting set up, I didn't realize it wasn't even 6 o'clock. Um, I'll discuss that at 6 o'clock. I'm just checking some stuff here, taking care of a few things. I'm sorry. Yes, Lila, that was Prime. All right. How is everybody? I don't really have anything in particular to discuss. I did kind of discuss Starscream live a couple of weeks ago when I got it. And when I thought at the time that I wouldn't be able to shoot it because it was just so annoying. But I shot it anyway. So you're welcome. So this week I received a loaner from Chosen Prime. Great guy. And it's the G Creation version of Grimlock. And since that's a loaner, I'm going to shoot that first. But unfortunately, this happened to be the week that I also received the last part of MMC Assaultus. So it pains me, but I'm not going to shoot that this week. I'm going to shoot the movie Grimlock, so I can get it back to Brandon as quickly as possible. And besides, this Assaultus is going to be a 2-week process, because first I got to shoot a nice clean video for their brawl. What's his name? What did they call him? Probus, for whatever reason. And bear with me for a second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I got a 14-year-old who doesn't seem to understand any kind of boundaries. Whatever's important to him at the moment is the only important thing in the universe. Am I planning on getting Earthrise Scorponok? You know, I have been kind of watching the Bricklink for my local targets, and it hasn't actually shown up, or, you know, it was in such hot demand that it showed up and people just immediately bought it, and it just never even appeared on Bricklink, which I find to be unlikely. That of, you know, like a dozen targets in my area, there hasn't been a single one that's gotten it yet. I'm going to assume they haven't stocked it yet. Or perhaps they're never going to stock it. So, you know, maybe I'll get one when it shows up at Ollie's or Ross. Who can say? I'm not desperate to get it, because it's probably more expensive than it needs to be. So I don't have any plans. I mean, I've got all the other Titan class figures, so I feel like, you know, why not complete the set? Why not stay caught up? I could always get one off of eBay if it really eats away at me, but it's not a particularly complicated or clever transformation, and frankly I have those Titan figures, but you know, I futz with them one time, I put the stickers on, and then I just leave them alone. It's not like, ooh, the transformation's so fun. So I don't know, doesn't seem worth the time or money, especially the time, to try to track it down. So I'll keep an eye on my targets, and if it ever shows up, I'll scurry out perhaps and get it. But I'm just kind of holding off till 6 p.m. because I told a guy on YouTube. A guy had commented on the MPM4 video. you know, that guy. And he had I'm trying to find where it is. Oof. It's like lost in the shuffle. Let's see if I can find his name. So it's BruteCon1 had asked, for the MPM Optimus Prime, how do you securely tighten the arm tab in? Every time I tab the arm, it gets loose. I don't know. I'm already kind of discussing it, and he could always watch it on replay if he decides to. But I think he's talking about how this part of the arm tabs in. And so I just popped it apart. I had to watch my own video to make sure that it was like time to pop it apart, or did I have to move anything else because it's been a while. Again, I'm making these videos for myself. You guys just get to enjoy them too. But what we're dealing with is this slot here goes onto this tab here. Now I could see if for some reason you have this mistransformed so the tab isn't in the right place. Obviously, he didn't give me any more details than just the bare request, so I'll just have to speculate. But if this tab isn't in the right place, like in front of this smokestack, then I could see it not being available to tab into. I don't know what else it could be, but under this tab, below it, there's like a little ridge there, or at least there should be, you know? But there's like a little bit of a notch. And inside this socket, there is, let's see if we can, by some miracle, actually highlight it. But on the far wall here, and let me get something to point with. In this socket, there's like a little ridge right there. Right where I'm pointing. I'm pointing at it. There's like a little bit of a ridge there. And the two ridges interact. So when you raise this up, it's supposed to fit in, and then it should kind of snap. And when you unsnap it, you know, it's snap. I would think that if you aren't getting everything lined up properly, and I'm trying to think of some other way that it wouldn't be lined up properly. I did some surgery here because of a misalignment. But that's how it connects. The little ridge on the bottom of that cup hits the ridge on the bottom of the tab, and they snap. So that's about all I can tell you, buddy. If yours is missing either of those ridges, I could see it causing a big problem. If the ridge is worn down somehow, it could cause a problem. And if they're not lined up properly somehow, I can't immediately see how they could be lined up wrong without everything else being wrong. But I could see it not snapping properly in any of those scenarios. So good luck. I don't have much else to discuss that's like I said, I'm not going to discuss Starscream again. I've had all I can have of that figure. It'll just be a shelf queen. It'll be transformed into a robot and just kind of sit back there and look cool. And someone will be like, oh, cool, does that turn into a jet? And I'll have to just honestly say, no, it doesn't. It doesn't turn into a jet. I get people on forums with that because I'll be like, it'd be really cool if it turned into a jet. You know, someone invariably would be like, it does turn into a jet. And I'm like, does it though? Like the Thor meme, you know, does it? Yeah, we can discuss this guy a little bit. I'm going to have a separate video showing the assembly somehow. It's a lot of parts levitating. I don't like that very much. Because it's hard. Things don't levitate normally. But you got to kind of levitate everything right now to put both legs on, and then you can stand it up. But this whole thing has a slot, and it slides onto that tab, and it just helps to bend the leg like 45 degrees before you do it. When you pull it off, just make sure you're like trying to push it off with this, because this is part of the Jeep, you know. So to pull it off, you have to just kind of pull it. It doesn't really seem to lock like this guy actually kind of locks a little bit, but then we can straighten the leg, and also this foot has a couple of slots on the bottom of it, and there's a couple of tabs here, and so it can affix the kneecap can affix there. And then, of course, you close this off on the back to kind of lock it in place. So there's one leg applied. And then the other leg, it helps to loosen the turret up just so you have a little space to work here. But this one, when it's transformed properly, there's a little bit of a give here. This will lift up and lower down just a little bit. Its official position is here, but it does have a little give. And it helps to bring it up a little bit so that you can slide it onto its track, theoretically. And then we lower it in place. And with the turret still out of the way, you can kind of plug the toe or the kneecap onto the tabs that this thing has to get everything lined up properly. There we go. And then we can put the turret away again. So he is a tall boy. He's got his booties on. There's like a bonus set that I bought that came with booties. Little baby booties. His real feet kind of look like this. They're not bad considering, but because they're trying to split the compromise, because each half of this is you know, the robot mode foot. They didn't want to make the robot mode feet too big, and so they made the combined mode foot a little too small in my opinion. So just ignore the silver bit. That's what the combined mode foot looks like. And you can see plenty, like Ocular Maxis posts a lot of pictures of their stuff. This set, and I don't know. I prefer the boots, but it does make it a parts former, which is, you know, kind of obviates the whole all built-in thing. But to be fair, it's other than that all built in, and you don't have to have these. These transform into boxes that can kind of integrate with their Onslaught. So it's, but it is parts forming, and it's a sin. When you apply the arms, let's see if we can put them low enough. Both of these green bits are the same piece. So on one side, the release mechanism is in front. It's hard to get these lights far enough away at this point. Point some down. So the release mechanism is in the front on this side, but on this side it's in the back because it's the same part. It's on the left when you face the part. It's always on the left. But we lift that up. This slides into the slot, and then we can lower it down to lock it in, and it locks in pretty good. Their Probus Brawl came with a replacement one of these olive things, and it has a much tighter rotation joint, so it can carry the weight of this guy, who is a little heavier than the helicopter was. By the same token, this joint on mine was way too loose. So this is actually the one from the other side, and then the one that was way too loose, I just kind of set aside here. But you can see this clicks a little bit. It's pretty easy to turn compared to the new one. But this one's really loose. You'll have to take my word for it. I guess it probably sounds the same on the camera, but so I did a little double surgery just to give him the best shoulder joints that he could have. They weren't really that bad, and I don't know if it had to be replaced, but it's always nice to have a tighter joint. So we lift this up, we slide it in, and we lower it down, and now, you know, here he is in all his glory. It is a very tight joint, the newly packed one they send. So I like his the replacement, the set that comes with the feet also comes with a replacement chest, so it's kind of shiny silver instead of the original chest that had the space shuttle look from the cartoon. And the head got replaced with a more toy-like head rather than the cartoon head. And I was always much more into the toys than the cartoons, as you might imagine, because I like transforming them. And when you watch a cartoon, you don't get to transform anything. You're just watching a cartoon. Some people like the stories, more power to them, but I don't care. And so, given the opportunity to make this look like the toy from my childhood, I went with the make it look like a toy from my childhood option. It's just such a fantastic set. The all built-in really just kind of enhances it. But I mean, even if this thing wasn't all built in, it would still be aesthetically just, you know, the best one out there. It's just gorgeous. We'll scan up. I mean, he's a big boy. So excited to have him. So this weekend, like I said, will be G Creation Wrath. But next weekend, you can expect the Probus video. And then the following weekend, you can expect me to try to... I'll take some of the clips from these going from vehicle... I'll probably have to take a picture of them all in vehicle mode. Rotate that around. And then maybe do some cuts where I cut to the sequence of them going from vehicle mode to... vehicle mode to combiner mode, and then kind of show them coming together, not in some artsy fartsy way, but just show how they mechanically connect. Maybe zoom in and just kind of show without having to levitate things. But the figure, the combined figure itself, I think deserves kind of its final sort of video, and then and also Probus deserves to have his own video. So looking forward to dealing with that. This Probus, this tank, is just such an elegant figure. I really like how it goes. It ends up much taller than all the other figures except for the middle guy. So it's cool that they're all kind of different heights and they're different sort of masses. They're really great. Shark says, "Sup everyone." Sup Shark. Let's discuss about Fans Toys Dune Rider. I don't have Fans Toys Dune Rider. Sup Ern bro. I hope you're good too. I missed being here. I mean, it's better than Zeta's. Yeah, Zeta's looked pretty good, but this is exceptional. And the individual bots are all exceptional, and the individual vehicle modes are all exceptional. The only one I guess I could have issue with is this middle guy. His legs seem a little too short when he's in robot mode, and he's the only one that kind of turns into like a WTF vehicle. Like, what is it? But it looks like the G1 toy. So another funny note: this guy, I was looking up the Combaticons, and I noticed that this guy was the original Swindle was based off of like this sort of experimental army Jeep that was, you know, contemporary with the toy being designed in like the late, I guess the like 1980 something when the toy was originally designed. But here they've and you know, like, this is a space shuttle. This is exactly the helicopter the original toy turned into. This is exactly the Tiger tank that this originally turned into. But this guy is much more of just a regular like Jeep than that experimental Jeep that it was based on, supposedly. So I thought that was kind of interesting that, you know, this guy's completely fictitious. This truck is not a real truck. But this Jeep was not a Jeep. It was like a different type of thing. But in this incarnation, it's like a Jeep. And I think we kind of expect it to be a Jeep regardless of what the original toy. Yeah, you do learn something new every day. Hopefully. I guess if you have like memory problems, you don't. Sorry, I don't mean to make fun of people with memory problems. If any of you have memory problems, I'm sure you'll forget about it later. Too soon. Anyway, here. Some of you guys might have MPM4. Let's compare the heights of MPM4 with that guy. As you can see, he is taller than MPM4. Let's compare him to a standard 6-inch G.I. Joe Scarlet figure. Hello! So he is much taller than Scarlet, the controversial Scarlet figure, because her face is so generic. I don't know. I think it's a perfectly good figure. But I mean, it's big compared to a 6-inch figure. His real height with his booties on is about, looks like about just shy of 18 inches to the top of his head. So he's a big feller. And of course, you know, the total height with the arms is probably closer to 20 inches. He's not as big as Zeta from what I understand, but I think it's a fine scale, and they've kind of set their own mark here. Their next team is going to be the Protectobots. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome. Is it? Well, my apologies. But you learn something new every day, probably even if you got memory problems. Here he is compared to like my favorite little rare Transformers Hunt for the Decepticons basic figure. He's tiny. Of course, these basic figures are about the height of modern deluxes, so you could almost think of that as a deluxe. It's kind of sad. Everything keeps getting smaller and more expensive. I don't know. I don't have anything else to discuss. I was just checking in. I wanted to answer this guy's question. So hopefully he watches the playback and maybe it shines some light that helps him. Wanted to show off the fancy new Bruticus I got. Pretty special, pretty awesome. A couple of accessories I forgot to apply here. Let's see, we got the helicopter blades for Vortex. There we go. And of course he's got a big fancy gun you can stick in his hand. There we go. Get it tabbed in, curl the fingers around it. Tabbing in is kind of a pain in the ass, I gotta tell you. Because the finger kind of tucks up under this finger guard here. So you have to make sure the finger's kind of like lined up in there, otherwise you'll never get the hand tabbed. He has a tendency to do the splits. I think if I put like silicone pads on the bottom of the feet, that would solve that problem. But for the most part, I mean, I could probably leave him here for a week and he'd still be in the same position. It's just when you start kind of futzing with him, the legs kind of start drifting apart. And I guess he could probably do something like a superhero pose. I haven't gotten to the point where I've tried to like superpose him or anything. I mean, his final pose for the turnaround is going to be basically standing there, because what else do you do with this guy? It doesn't have to be crazy fancy or anything. It's amazing that Swindle... Let's just pan down. Swindle is the shortest member of the team, and this guy is the tallest member of the team. And you can get kind of an inkling of how that comes about when we turn it sideways and you see that Swindle's pretty empty. He's pretty skinny. He's just a brick that way. Whereas this guy is like a whole big chunk of stuff. So that's part of the reason they have different heights like that. I mean, it seems intentional, because I have no doubt that that MMC could have made them the same height if they wanted to. Like the original toys were kind of the same height. But I think it's cool that they made them, every one of them is a different height, a different bulkiness. So this guy's the shortest, this guy's the second shortest, this guy's the third, this guy's fourth, and this guy's the tallest. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the MMC working with blocky vehicle-based figures. I think they do that really well. I don't know what they would do with Abominus. I'm sure it would be clever. Unique Toys Abominus is a pretty good Abominus, so people are generally fairly happy with that. I don't know. I want to see... I always want to see aerial bots done. I know Zeta did aerial bots, and they're decent. They're okay. I didn't get them, but I've looked at them and, you know, hemmed and hawed over some of the gift sets that they've sold. But, you know, in the end of the day, it's like too much money for what it is. Especially when, you know, when they finish with the Protectobots, maybe MMC will do the aerial bots, who can say. I don't know, MMC, they'll have to do another bad guy team after the Protectobots. I mean, are they going to do the Stunticons? The Stunticon market's pretty saturated right now. But, you know, Protectobots will probably take us through 2021. So if they decide to do any more after the Protectobots, they could do the Stunticons, because they'd be a couple of years after the big Stunticon fever. I've been working on the XTB Stunticon set, as you may know. And hopefully at some point they will get the trailer out. I think the trailer will come out this year before Christmas, before the end of the year. Because they've already shown pictures of it. I think it's getting close. But I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. And he'll be a combiner on the scale of roughly this. Maybe a little taller. I think XV's following the Zeta scale. You should do the KO oversized bone crusher. Yeah, I probably don't have that. Hey, BruteCon. Oh, so you did... Oh, I helped him with the tab. Yay! All right, everybody. Smoke them if you got them. Yeah, I recently sold my Unique Toys Abominus. I honestly have been eyeing the TFC one, but I've been burned before by them with Leo Kaiser. See you later, Lila. Yeah, TFC, I never quite liked their combiners. They were... I never had any, but I saw videos of them. I didn't like the aesthetics. I didn't like the way they... the figure obviously couldn't really hold itself up properly. I'm thinking in terms of like the TFC Devastator that was out was not great. That Leo Kaiser you mentioned was, you know, didn't stand well. And, you know, at the very least, you should have a combiner be able to have some shelf presence and stand without slouching over, you know. So I've had problems with... I got the Jinbao oversized Predaking that was based on the... What was it based on? Help me out, guys. MMC? No. One of you geniuses is going to know. The Jinbao oversized Predaking was based on another Predaking. It wasn't the TFC Predaking. It was... I can't remember. That thing doesn't really stand great. The Shuriken that I have, it doesn't stand great. It certainly... This thing, you can look at it and think, I'm going to be able to pose that a little bit. But the Shuriken, you can't really pose it at all. Was it MMC? Okay. It was an MMC. It's a good design, but all the animal legs are just kind of hanging out, which is kind of a bummer. I really like these new Kang Toys Predakings because they take the animal legs and tuck them inside the body, you know, or the limb. They're very clean. They're very clever. I like them so far. I'm looking forward to the bird. They've been teasing it, but I haven't seen any colored... They haven't been really teasing colored prototype pictures of it yet. So I got to think, if I had to guess, Kang Toys' third limb, the other arm, the bird, is not going to make it before the end of the year. But I could be wrong. Thank you, by the way, Holly. Holy? I don't know. I'm trying to sneak a soda open because my mouth is dry. I've been doing all the talking. How rude. You guys go ahead and talk. Should figure out how to have like some guest talk live with me. Like my cousin Rob, he'd do it. DX9. Yeah, DX9 is a solid company, solid designers. They're kind of related to Unique Toys, although I think it's a different team that did Giuliano or whatever his name is. I liked it, but what really turned me off for DX9 was that their combiner parts are a trailer that is not a very realistic trailer at all. It's like this absurdly long trailer. I like that XTB, their tractor unit for that tractor trailer, it's what turns into Motormaster. And then the trailer separately turns into something else. Fans Toys, their trailer kind of famously disappears or collapses and folds up on the back of Motormaster. Which is clever, but I mean, you're wasting a trailer that way because, I mean, the trailer is the obvious thing to contain all the parts for the combiner. So presumably, Fans Toys, you'll have to buy like a separate torso that everything... And Menasor is really one of the weakest combiners because the cars are just kind of ornaments. They're just kind of plugged onto it. If you're trying to go for cartoon accuracy, you're dealing with that. And DX9 Toys, part of the trailer is the Motormaster guy, so that's why the trailer in part ends up so ridiculously like long and weird looking. So by that token, XTB was the set for me. It looked like the most rational set, and kind of all built in the sense that the trailer contains all the parts and looks like a real trailer instead of a weird and long trailer. Yeah, Fans Toys don't have designer combiner instructions, but I've only handled their Menasor, or their not Menasor, Motormaster, as a loan from Chosen Prime, but I've only handled that. I haven't handled cars, but I watch videos of the cars, and it's obvious the cars are kind of designed to like come apart and do what they need to do to combine. So I think Fans Toys ultimately combines the same thing for their aerial bots that they're working their way through. In both cases, it would seem that the leader figure just turns into a cube and then plugs into the torso. I mean, it's not really even a combiner at that point. One thing I like about this guy is he's not trying to fake it. They figured out how to have nice long thighs without using fake thighs like Toy World's Devastator, and that's one of the big selling points for me. Is it really is a combiner. It's not like a Motormaster where it's like cars plugged into it as ornaments. These things are actually the limbs. This is actually the thighs of the combiner. It's not faking it at all. I never got the Toy World Devastator for that reason. And I was tempted to get the, Generation Toys version of Devastator, because it has a more toy look, and like I said, I'm more nostalgic for the toys than the cartoon. But I didn't end up getting that, but I did get the Jinbao oversized version of that, but I can't really shoot that, because I'm not going to shoot some so-called fourth party knockoff. Yeah, I like that. Back in the day, the big conflict was between Make Toys Devastator, which was called Green Giant, and the TFC Devastator. And it was like the same competition. TFC tried to look more like the cartoon, and Make Toys tried to look more like the original toy. And by the same token, in the modern era, Toy World tries to look more like the cartoon and uses fake thighs. And the Generation Toy one looks more like the original toy. So that's kind of why I went with that design, even if I didn't ultimately buy it from Generation Toy. I got the oversized one from Jinbao. And then I get the leg extensions. I've never applied them. I keep thinking, I should put those on. And then I was like, I should do it. I couldn't finish that word somehow. I should just do it live, and then I keep putting it off, and so it never gets done. So I've got the extension parts for Jinbao oversized Devastator and never put them on. Okay, Holly. Sorry. I'll keep that in mind. If you keep showing up, I'll eventually learn your name, like Shark or Lila. People that holler at me a lot. Or Ernbro, who I think has already left the chat. Anywho, I don't really have anything else to discuss. You guys are going to fall asleep if I keep just meandering through. So... yeah, I just don't like fake thighs. I'm not a big fan. I realize that the XTV Motormaster or Menasor is going to have super fake thighs, fake calves, fake arms, but that's more a function of how else do you do a cartoon accurate Menasor? Menasor is like the weakest combiner. Okay. Well, I hope you all have a good rest of your week. Have a good weekend. Expect G Creation Wrath, or Age of Extinction Grimlock on Sunday. Just to get him out of the way. Probably hold on to him until Wednesday so we can do a live stream, because he's got some stuff that won't come across on stop motion in terms of fiddling him into position. He's got some clearance issues. So we'll kind of do a discussion of how the hell you turn him back into a dinosaur, which is the hardest part. And I got to turn him back into a dinosaur to ship him back anyway, so we may as well do it live. And then I'll get him shipped back, and Brandon can have him back. And then we'll get on to this guy, and then 3 weeks from now we'll do the combined, like some sort of combining celebration. And that's it. Thanks for attending my live stream or watching it later for some reason, and have a nice day.